We nearly started this podcast about a year ago, and the first guests that we had on were the Morley Group. And out of that group of people, we met a massive network of young entrepreneurs in Manchester, in the north of England, and we've interviewed almost all of them. Except for today, we're collecting another Infinity Stone with Mr. Jay Carter.
I think
Pleasure
last
to have
time
you
I
on,
met
dude.
you, it was down at the Meeks music video about, I don't know, when was that? About 8 months ago?
December.
Something like that,
It was a
yeah.
long
December, bro, early
Yeah,
December
yeah,
last
there you
year.
go, 10
It
months
was a long
ago.
time ago. It was a good day. A very
Yeah.
good day.
Yeah, it was.
And I remember you saying to me that day, we invited you on the podcast there, and then 'cause we were all giddy, and we were like, hey, come on, and let us interview you. And you said, no, I want to wait until I feel like I have something that people can take away from
Until
it.
I'm ready.
We're
And I
here.
think today, I'm ready.
I
I've
feel
got something to
I-
talk about.
I feel like you're ready as well. So, like we always do, for the people who may not know you and may not know what you do, take it away.
So I'm Jay Carter. I am a distributor, a UK-based distributor of luxury products. Now it's typically around the mid-tier product, ASICS trainers, perfumes, aftershaves, and we distribute to resellers who can use platforms like eBay, Depop, and more to build a side hustle. And that's kind of as simple as it is.
So if I was going to break it down even simpler for the people who might not even know what a UK-based distributor is, you have access to loads of quite advanced suppliers and you take it all into your warehouse and people will come to you for stock at a reduced rate, essentially.
Absolutely. So we work as a liquidator. So we will tend to buy stock in bulk, meaning I haven't spent 20, 30,000 pounds at a time. What this means is we achieve 50, 60, 70% off retail price. We then have the margin to distribute to other people, but in a different way. So typically when you look at a supplier, you think, right, I've got to go and spend 500 quid, 1,000 pounds to get the stock in. The way that we've made our model different is people can sell our products without having to buy them. So they can what we call drop ship from a UK supplier. Their customer will get it within a 24 to 48 hour period. Now this is extremely rare for the UK. Usually you think of drop shipping, gave the hint away. What country do you think of?
I mean, China.
Yeah,
or
Chinese
somewhere in
suppliers or
Asia.
2-3 week lead times. Now the whole beauty of the model is we thought people can actually drop ship without having to use dog toys or kids, I don't know, baby food.
Bro,
You can drop things people actually want.
Yeah.
And it's kind of
100%.
building a business where you can build a side hustle, they can build something themselves they want without having to work around these horrible suppliers.
I mean, like when I think of drop shipping, I think of all these dudes like, oh, we'll build a Shopify store for you and stuff. But I don't really see what you do as drop shipping. I feel like it's far
Exactly.
more
100%.
sophisticated than that.
Yeah.
But then I also think that like the products that you sell, for example, like perfumes, so my dad wears the same Hugo Boss aftershave that he wore 10 years ago, still to this day. And it's like things like if you're drop shipping a dog toy or some like brand new product, people like usually will start a store, maximize the absolute amount that they can get out of that product, and then they've got to go and do it all from square one again. They don't really build a brand.
Yeah.
But if you're selling like kind of not evergreen items, but evergreen items as in like these top brands that make aftershaves, ASICS trainers, they're not like a trend that people are just hopping on and building a store.
Exactly. So let's say from your dad's example, if your dad wanted to buy a dog toy, he'd go on a random Google site, put it in, and he'd order it. He'd never think about that store again.
Yeah.
However, the way that our businesses and our members work is if they were to sell your dad a perfume, they're going to come back. They're going to build a relationship and actually have a long-term customer from drop shipping. It's something that when someone has a perfume, it doesn't last forever. You've got to come back and you're going to go back to that same person you can get a discount with. So it's a long-term vision of each customer. It's the LTV of the customer.
One thing that I see on a lot of your pages that I'm sure anyone else who's kind of interested in is the term B2B.
Okay.
And although like me and Charlie obviously know what it means, and I'm sure a lot of people do, there's definitely a lot of people out there who have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
Just getting into it. So could you just give like a short kind of, just an answer?
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
to
There's
explain
two
that?
things. There's B2C and there's B2B. So B2C means you are selling business to client. So if I was to sell to you as an individual who's going to wear that perfume, you are B2C. If I'm selling B2B, it means you are reselling that product on. So we only supply businesses. Now, B2B doesn't mean I'm going to supply Tesco or flannels. It could literally be a 16-year-old who's doing a little side hustle.
Yeah.
But our supply chain is only B2B. So we only supply businesses, whether that be someone who's got a store and does 100K plus a month or 100K plus a month of revenue, or that being a 16, 17-year-old, like we mentioned, who's got a little side hustle, sold a few items to his friends. We kind of accommodate all businesses, and everyone's business that we work with and supply is different. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And they all kind of work in the same network, because this lad who's selling to his mate is networking with someone who's been doing this for 10 years and has their own store. And that's exciting. It's so exciting. It's a network which, if I was 16 and I could put myself in there, I'd have been a lot further than I am now. I'll tell you that.
So I was going to say, once upon a time, you were 16 and you started reselling quite young,
Yeah.
if I'm correct?
Yeah, really young, really young. I mean, even younger people. So everyone always goes, I used to sell sweets at school, and that was how they got into reselling.
Yeah.
I wasn't selling sweets. I was selling iPhones. I knew there was more higher ticket things than £1 sweets. I literally, so this is what we call like a value add. So when I was 14, 13, I would get if I knew someone was selling an iPhone or was broke, had a crack in, I'd buy it, I'd fix it at local store. I used to watch YouTube videos on how to fix screens, and I'd sell it on. Because I knew there was a nice margin there. And obviously, it weren't too high ticket to buy. Maybe could borrow £100 off my dad, then try and flip it for 200, pay 100 back. Maybe chuck him a tenner interest, something like that. Now, as that kind of developed, we went into reselling, and we kind of talked through the way we did that. But we was also doing value add for clothing.
Yeah.
So the products we weren't getting weren't brand new, and they weren't just straight away bang in and out. There might be a fault, like a broken zip, or it's got a dust mark. Something where our value add, putting something on top of that product, would allow us to increase margin. And that was a really important way of getting into reselling. No one realizes that that's how we actually started. I wasn't buying Louis Vuitton to start selling at 15. Who would do that? No. I was buying a Stone Island jumper, which might have had a fray gone. And we was snipping it, making it look bang on, then selling it on Depop.
So even as like a young person then getting into that kind of thing, you were selling like pretty high ticket items. How were you kind of like getting yourself out there? Was it word of mouth, social media? What was it that you were doing to kind of like sell, even at the start with the iPhones and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Now, my business is almost driven in the same way that we sell to resellers as I started then, and that's using sales channels. So eBay, Depop, Vinted, these platforms are incredible because you're not having to go and find a customer. Your customer is there already. All you have to do is get the product out. If you list something on eBay, there are hundreds of thousands of customers, and whether that's me or you, they can't tell who are buying the product.
Yeah.
So the only thing you have to do is get the product out there. That was the same thing that I was doing at 16. I was using my mum's eBay account because you've got to be 18, I think, selling eBay. But I was just finding a product to get onto these sales channels, and I would generate a sale from there. Now, that is what I would say the easiest way to start. Because you don't have to have an Instagram page that has thousands of followers, and it takes years to build up, or massive ad campaigns.
Yeah.
You put a product on at the right price, on a sales channel, and it will sell.
What's your advice for people who don't have any PayPal accounts? Like, bro, this actually comes up quite a bit on podcasts, right? Is that we used to sell, like, I would sell my Kenzo jumpers and stuff on Depop when I was younger, you know?
Yeah.
You'd sell one, get another one at a different size or whatever. And there would always just be dickheads on there who would refund it or
These
say something's
scammers.
wrong with it, bro.
They're
And
the
I
bane
don't,
of my life.
I have like maybe 5 email addresses and I can't get a PayPal account for any of them.
Yeah, I'm banned from PayPal.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to swear in here?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck PayPal. Okay, we'll hear that out there. PayPal's not even needed anymore.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm gonna tell you why. So, 3, 4, 5 years ago, Depop, Vinted, eBay, they was all used PayPal as a secure payment system. They've realized they don't need to. eBay Pay, Depop Pay, Vinted Pay. They're not actually even having to integrate PayPal into it anymore because they understand that the margin's being cut massively and there's still loads of issues with it.
That's why like I stopped selling things on there, because even like at the time when you're like 16, 17 and you're selling stuff on Depop were taking like 10%.
Huge.
And then
It was
PayPal
more than
would,
that at some point, wasn't it? I
yeah,
think
and then
Depop,
like,
it
but
was
then
crazy.
the payment processor would take fees as well. And by the time I'd sold something, shipped it, and all the fees had been taken, I got fuck all for it. And people would proper haggle you on there as well.
Oh,
Like,
that was
so,
me,
like-
unfortunately. That's probably me messaging you like 20 couldn't. Yeah.
So I feel like, I mean, eBay removed their fees recently, didn't they? So I
Yes.
bet you and all your guys were buzzing about that.
Times are changing.
Yeah.
Literally, times change. So I went on BBC Radio for 2 weeks ago, speaking with an eBay representative.
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
Just about this, because it is a massive change for me and my business. Like I say, probably 80% of our members' revenue comes from eBay, Vinted. And I think the reason why eBay changed is because Vinted had done the same thing. And they were taking
Yeah.
the market. Vinted
I think
charge
Vinted's very good, to
it's
be
in-
fair.
it's incredible.
Super
Yeah,
good,
it is.
like-
It's
It is.
incredible.
If I
There
was
is-
going to get something off any of those platforms, I get it off Vinted.
100%. It's great because there's no fees. It means people can lower the price because everyone calculates what they're going to get after anyway. However, there's a problem with Vinted, being that you can't actually commercially sell. So if you are a business and it looks like you're selling as a reseller, you will get eventually closed down, which is an issue. However, eBay have combated this. So eBay for personal accounts, so any small resellers is classed as a personal account, now do not have any fees. Zero.
What were the fees before?
13%.
Bro, that's crazy.
No,
Yeah,
it's
that is
insane.
That's
mental.
crazy.
Yeah,
It's
that's
insane.
so
Like,
much.
let's do the numbers on this, and you can kind of understand how big of a difference this is. I sell Creed Aventus to our businesses and members £175, which is pretty good. It's £300 in store.
Yeah.
Now, if they was listed on eBay, of course, they have to be below retail for an incentive for a customer to buy. They'd probably drop ship that product at 240. Big saving for the customer. So eBay fees about 13%. It means like a £35 fee. So 35 minus 240 plus shipping. Let's say they come out with now
They
200.
basically like doubled their profit on each of the
They're
units.
making £40 more per unit on a Creed Aventus because the fees are gone. That's huge.
Yeah,
I'm
that-
surprised you
that
didn't
is
hold like
lot
a
to me.
SimpliB2B like party, like
Oh,
in the thing, like a
in
webinar,
that
and
chat,
everyone just
there
getting
was
gassed.
a party. Everyone was going crazy as soon as he seen it. I was going crazy. It's a massive difference.
And what's it like for you now? Obviously, you have a lot of people in your group who are like 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
How do you like the fact that you can almost like help out a younger version of you in the fact that that is exactly what you would have needed?
There's a lad actually called Ben Rogers. He won't mind me speaking about it. Manchester Sneaks. He's 15.
Mad.
He reminds me of myself, but better. And I said this to him. I had a word with his mum as well. I'll hire him. Because if I don't hire him, he's just going to go and do the same thing I do, but better.
Yeah.
Because he is that good. He's that busy. He's on his phone. He's hungry. He wants to do it. So it's so nice to see that. And it's nice to see that. And his mum was like, "Oh, I'm so glad that he's doing well." Because like when you're 15, there's a couple paths you either go down. You go down Ecky Road Park and you're drinking Cactus Jack's beer, or you like me and you sat there reselling. You at that age it is almost crucial that you dive yourself in something.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
what is
100%.
the correct thing you're going to dive yourself into? Is it reselling and something that's going to grow you and potentially be your business like it was for me? Or is it you're going down the wrong path? You're smoking weed, you're doing drugs and other things. I'm not saying I'm God and I'm like doing the best for the world, but it's really nice to see kind of the younger generation doing these kind of things. And that is like a nice feeling for me in the biz. Same time, it's not just 16, 17-year-olds in that business. There's 30-year-olds, there's 40-year-olds. There's women, there's like, we started distributing to a lot of women because obviously the cosmetics and fragrances, which is really good to see. Because previously when we were doing the clothing, there weren't a lot of women.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know why, it was more of a men's basis for a side hustle. So like one of the businesses we onboarded last week, Angela, she's a 50-year-old woman who's got 2 kids, and she's doing really well selling the fragrances and cosmetics because it's more her niche. She understands it way more than me. I know fuck all about makeup. I just know.
Yeah, true. You do makeup as well, don't you? It's like luxury designer items, so you got it all.
Yeah, makeup, perfume, aftershaves, everything. So it really it goes over a big customer base.
I mean, so reselling is something that, like, whenever I speak to you or Jack or just any of you guys who are reselling any sort of stock, I don't really get it. Like, just because that's not my world. Like, I remember speaking to you a couple months back and you were like, I don't believe in anything other than stock. I remember having that conversation with you because I was talking about like go high level and copywriting and stuff. And you were like, nah, don't believe in it. Like, I believe in stock, buying and selling for more.
Yeah.
Why do you think that, or maybe necessarily not, why do you think, but for someone starting like a service-based business versus someone starting something reselling, what do you think is the kind of the difference there in terms of a beginner business model?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. You've got me thinking there. So one thing I say, tangible products, you can physically see it. You know that if you get something cheap, there's not a lot of risk there. That no matter what, even if you lose, you're only going to lose 10%. And that is the beautiful thing that I love about tangible product, is that you've always got an asset there. Whilst if anything service-based, when you put in a big marketing spend, or you can have a downfall where you can lose mass amounts of money because your upside is a lot bigger as well. So the thing that I would say with tangible products is when you buy, your risk factor of not making money is pretty low. You're always going to make something if you buy something at the right price. Whether that's going to a Nike outlet or an ASICS outlet and just getting a few products, your risk is really low. Whilst with service-based, and you'll probably understand more than anyone, it can take a long time for it to come.
Yeah.
But obviously your upside of it's really good as well. Obviously with the way the internet is and more in social channels, it's easier to build service-based businesses. But for me, I've always been really used to tangible. Even though we do a lot of service-based in our service now, we consult people, we help them build API syncs with us in our stock and websites and more.
So for someone who doesn't know what an API sync is,
Sorry.
no, it's fine, bro. You just forget, don't you?
Yeah, so one thing that we've done with businesses recently is we've started to grow our stock profile. We're in the 6-figure mark now of stock, is that we sync our stock through to other businesses. So what this means is from our business-to-business portal, which is private, only kind of our members have access to it, they can reflect all of our stock through the click of a button onto their own website. So if you go on, for example, PlugStation UK is a big business, you go in his fragrance section, every single product on there is mine. The photos are mine, descriptions are mine. However, he just puts his markup on top.
Yeah.
So if he's put a Tom Ford Oud Wood on there for 290, if you go on his site, on our website that's 200 quid on our private portal, which no consumer can actually see. So the second that someone will purchase a product off his website, it'll automatically purchase it from us, then we ship it straight there.
I feel like that is, do you know, in terms of a service add-on that you offer,
Yeah.
I think that is like, if I was a member of SimpliB2B, I'd be like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's
But
huge.
I want that.
It's really almost undervalued of the way that we do it, because we kind of just say to all members, because I make money on the product as well, and I want them to make sales because I make money. I'm not charity. Like I'm definitely not. If he's seen that Tom Ford at 200, I will have bought that at realistically at 175.
Yeah.
So I'm putting a £25 margin on. He puts a £75 margin on. So the more sales they do, the better. And this is why we understand that if they're building out good websites using our stock, it will drive sales. I will make money on stock.
I've always found what you guys do interesting. Like whenever I explained it to people, so for example, when we had Morley on for the first pod, everyone's like, what do they do? Da, 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 da. And it almost seems like too good to be true, because at every single stage, the supplier makes profit, the reseller makes profit, and the consumer gets it below retail price. But I guess that can only happen if you do have someone like yourself who has built the supply network and can afford to buy it in bulk.
100%. It's really capital intense. Like cash
Yeah.
flow
Yeah,
is hard in this business. Like, and it's something that's probably like my natural skill is I'm relatively good with managing cash flow and money and more. But at the same time, the stock that we look at that we're getting these percentages, if you ask me, can I get these ASIC GT160s in a black and gold at 60% off and 100 of them, I'd say no. Because I can't. We can only get what we get offered.
Yeah.
And that is kind of the hindrance of this business. Is the stock that we get, yes, we're getting 50, 60, 70% off. But I'm not going to get that off Louis Vuitton perfumes or off the new Dior Ispahan.
Yeah.
It's on the products which we get offered, which are still obviously great items. And that's the reason why we get 50, 60% off. So people distribute the stock that we have. And I always say straight away, if you're looking to come here and build a business, getting Louis Vuitton at 50, 60% off or all these really in-demand items, it's not going to happen. You're going to get scammed.
Do people ever buy in just for the sake of being able to get themselves or others like clothing items or ASICs or perfumes cheaper?
I mean, it's an add-on.
Yeah.
People say it on the call. You know what? It's just I could just get a few items for myself. But
I can imagine like if Christmas comes round, your girlfriend, your mum, your auntie, your grandma, patterned.
you'd save money. So I'm look at the camera. If you just want to buy cheap, just join anyway. But we do only do it for businesses, really. But I mean, it'd be worth it in terms of what you save for a long term.
Yeah.
But in the way that we market the business, and I'm really like, if you go on the page, it's really obvious what we do. I almost like hammer over it, is that we distribute to businesses to build resellers, because my long-term vision is having a network of businesses who aren't doing $1,000 a month for sales. That 16-year-old's in 3 years going to be 19, having his own unit. doing 100K a month
Sick.
in sales. And that's the way that we grow as well. Because every business that we distribute to steps up that next level, so do we.
Is it? I feel like that is like similar to what I said before in that every stage wins. It's almost like quite a nice incentive as a business owner, because coming back to the service-based business thing, most of the time, like unless the person providing the service is good, in a transaction, the person who is providing the service wins the most, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like they are the one getting a client. But with your, like everyone's incentive at every level is, you know, the reseller is trying to get it as cheap as possible so people buy from them, and they're trying to get it off you and you're buying in bulk, and you all have that incentive to make the person like above and below you better off.
100%. And I think the way that we built the model out was really important that way, because everyone's buying into the same vision. If you look at our community in our group, it's ecstatic. People are trading stock between them. Every time they make a sale, they're putting in the chat, yes, just made £6 profit on that sale. I'm going, yes, I just made £20. And then we're going to go and buy more stock.
Yeah.
So it was really important to build it out in that way and have everyone into the same vision, that there's no, and don't get me wrong, like I'm not going to go and tell you that every single person is absolutely smashed off the park right away who's joined. Because that isn't realistic. It's not, if it's not how it works. Is that if you are willing to put in the work, you go and do listings, you will get the results. If you sit back and don't do anything, you won't. So yeah, it's definitely a benefit across all borders, which is really important for us, and it helps us keep growing. I know that my next step is I've got to keep buying and buying and buying more stock to support the businesses who are buying and buying.
So do you know, in terms of like the service that you provide, like they have the product and they can directly drop ship it from your store, what was like the process of kind of like systemizing that actually like?
Long,
Obviously, you don't have to
painful.
explain it in full, but
No. I mean, I'll go over in a bit of detail. I used to, you know, Ellis. Obviously, Ellis was doing a lot of work for me at the time. So when we first kind of had, we was obviously doing a similar thing to Molly. But when we first had the idea, I kind of got our own unit, bought a liquidation deal of makeup. So really small, horrible to organize items. Yeah, good profit margins though. So we just got a storage unit, built out some racking, like sat there putting the screws in and stuff, and then we just ship it ourselves, have it on the Shopify. Loads of issues because of the way that there was so many products, just two of us, things would be going out in wholesale. It was messy. It wasn't easy, but the concept was correct.
Super hands-on then.
Yeah, super hands-on. Go to the post office every day, post out the orders, print the label, done. Part of the process had to be done, similar to all my businesses. As we grew, I knew 100% this has to go into what we call a 3PL. So it's the third-party logistics company. Someone who manages all the fulfillment for you.
So if we were to put a photo on the screen of the showroom that you started in and what you were doing and where you are now, I feel like the term 3PL would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So our warehouse is now huge, absolutely humongous. It's not all ours. We're in conjunction with a couple of the businesses who they fulfill for as well.
Yeah.
But it means that I don't have to be there. I won't go to the warehouse at all. Right now, we just had 30 pairs of Adidas trainers go to the warehouse. Our warehouse team will book it in, our members will sell it, and they'll fulfill it. I don't have to do a single thing.
Yeah,
and
that is just...
Yeah, and systemizing that was so important. We made barcodes. We spent hours kind of working out the best way to have the locations, because it meant that everything was transparent. Even to a sense, we have a content studio in the warehouse, so that our staff, as soon as stock comes in, they'll put it in the light box, they'll take content. This will go into a content drive for the members, who then edit the logo on. It'll make them sales, and we fulfill it. Because if there's no content, they won't make sales. So we have to make sure that every process goes through in the right way. Everything's barcoded, skewed. We have a complete to a T understanding of how much stock is in there.
So something that I've noticed about you, like on a personal level and on a business level, is that it always seems like you've been very, very focused and very meticulous on what you wanted SimpliB2B to look like. Like, I know that I've seen a clip of you talking about how you've never had a mentor. How much do you feel like you being clear on what you wanted has helped you get it? But do you think you could have gotten there faster?
Yeah, a million. No, that's the exact thing I'd say. I could have gotten there faster because I'm really clear on my vision, and I do take in advice from a lot of people. But for example, hiring, I only really hired full time a month and a half ago. I should have done that 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I should have took the risk 6 months ago. I had the money to be able to do it. The business wasn't as profitable. So I know I could have got there faster. My vision was I want to get to this point, do this number, and then I hire. And I know my next step is I want to get to this number, and then we expand warehouse or expand a stock team. So from a point of, my vision was really clear, which is great because I knew exactly what steps I had to get to each point. But I do believe that I could have took a few more risks. I'm not very I know you might not think that we have so much stock and stuff, but I'm not as risk adverse as like I'm not that big of a risk taker. I kind of plan and prepare things a lot, which I get is a hindrance. I probably won't grow as quick as I will.
Yeah.
But I'll do it correct.
How important do you think that in terms of like systemizing things, getting employees on, even though you might lose money at the time?
Yeah.
How important do you think that is for people in kind of like a similar thing to you who are like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't want to take the risk or lose the money or whatever.
Yeah, so it's a thing that I really struggled with. And I think we had a conversation about this before we hopped on the pod. And it's that I was always so controlling of my business that I know if I do something, truthfully, I'll do it right.
Yeah.
It'll go well. There won't be an issue with it. So when you start to hire, and it's like sometimes last week I remember I had a day and I was like, what do I do today? Because all the staff are doing it.
That must have been a crazy
It was
feeling,
crazy,
bro.
because before I was taking all the calls, I was speaking to all the businesses, I was even fulfilling the stock. Everything was me.
Yeah.
The stocks are filled by the warehouse. I've got a community manager who manages all the group, and I've got sales staff who does all the product sales and onboards businesses.
I bet the amount of time you've got back now as well is
So
insane.
this is why I'm on the podcast.
Monday morning, just
So yeah, it's
unemployed.
It's a really, really weird feeling. I remember I had a conversation with someone called Royale from Sheffield, who's got a big business called Priya.
Oh, we're trying to get him on.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's in
Royale,
Dubai at
come
the
on,
moment.
You should
but
come on.
he's-
But he was kind of saying to me like it's a really weird stage and it's gonna feel painful. It's gonna feel like you're losing your baby, but it's so important in terms of the growth. And even like a month into me hiring, I was like, this is the best decision that I have ever made in the business. 100%. 3PL, first great decision. Second one was hiring, because I can really see the growth now and I can focus on the correct things. So I'd say the question is, 100% take that risk. What's the worst that can happen?
I've really noticed that as a service provider. Like I help people build their businesses. And like one of the things I saw very early on was everyone is really protective of their own business. Like everyone has a vision of like if the business owner could do everything themselves at the start, or kind of like short to medium term, they would. Like they would not hire. They would all want to do it themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, people are protective over their business, especially with like what I do, especially if I'm like writing emails for someone or writing a webinar for someone. I've got to think not what I want to write, but what would they want to write, and like what language do they use? And it's so hard to do, but it's a skill once you get it. And the second thing is, what advice would you give someone who is hesitant about whether they should hire or outsource, or they might feel like you felt, and they're protective over it? What would be the advice to them?
Yeah, what I would say is I'd really try and pin your time down. Understand that if you could get rid of that role that you're doing yourself, and you could make sure that person is doing it to an adequate level, what time would you bring yourself to go and grow the business?
Yeah.
I knew to a point that I was doing that much firefighting, I was hindering the business. I was going to fuck it up because I was spreading my time too thin, and it just wasn't going to work. If I'm going to get to that next stage, I need to make sure that every business is working correct. And I can't do that whilst going and buying bulk of stock or working with new suppliers or even being on the content. So you need to understand that if that person can do the job correct, what difference is that going to make for you in your business? That was kind of my leveling point where I thought I'm starting to negatively affect this business by doing everything. It's almost greedy for me to not hire.
So we've spoken a lot about SimpliB2B, but there's something that I don't know if that many people know about you, is that you're actually a property investor.
Yeah.
You're the next Grant Cardone.
We
Yeah.
heard the talk of businesses.
Yeah. You know what it is? With property, I never talk about it because I have no benefit from telling anyone. And that's the reason why not a lot of people know that I do it, is because I rent properties out. I've got properties in Worksop. We're doing some projects in Nigeria as well, and I kind of talk through them. But by me talking about my business, SimpliB2B, we work with other businesses, we bring resellers on. And that's the reason why I don't really talk about property so much, is a sense of that no one no one's really gonna have a benefit from me telling them that I rent this property and this is what I get.
Yeah.
But obviously with my close friends and more, I kind of speak more about it. That's something I've been doing since I got my first property at 18. If I'm honest, which was, exciting.
That must have been a bit of a milestone, like as an 18-year-old getting your first property. I'd be telling everyone.
Yeah.
Did you tell everyone, like people at school and shit, or were you even at school? Were you at uni?
No, I was in sixth form when I got the first one. I think
That's
which is,
That's crazy,
That's
dude.
crazy, bro.
which is funny. But no, I didn't really tell anyone. I don't know why. Thinking about it, I probably should have. But I didn't really tell anyone. In property as well, you've always got to think that when you're reselling or you're doing these other businesses, you might actually see a lot more money than you do in property. Property is a really long-term goal. Really long. And it took me 3 years to actually see a decent amount of money from property. For example, I kind of talk through digits. The first house that I bought in Worksop, which is, and I'm not just like kind of mid to north of England, was £99,500 at the time. That was the value of it. I didn't cash that. I kind of talk through the way that you buy properties, and that was bringing me £500 a month. £99,500 to return £500.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of
it
months.
is. That's mad.
Did you do it up, or did you literally just get it and rent it out?
For that one, we barely did anything up. If I'm honest, so in property, the best way to buy is what I call situational buying.
Yeah.
If you want to get a good property, situational buying, and same thing we do in business of stock and stuff is, why is that person selling? Is there a reason why this person is selling cheap, and can you kind of capitalize on that? So my first property was the lady had died in it, which sounds a bit scary, but
I mean, we're moving into a house where the bloke has just died in it.
yeah.
So and he got it for pretty cheap.
Yeah,
So.
so and exactly. And the reason why they were selling it cheap is that the family wanted to get rid of it. They needed the money. So because they needed the money, they needed a quick sale.
Yeah.
Now that meant me as a property investor can get that house for below market value. That house is worth like fucking 40 grand more than I bought it 5 years ago, which is insane.
Yeah.
So
So what do you think of people like, I feel like all the people who are maybe 18, 19 and they wanted to start making money, people see property as like, you got people like fucking Samuel Leeds doing all of his business. You got Grant Cardone and whoever. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize that business models like property, like save them for later.
yeah, honestly, yeah.
Like you want something that's cash flowing. You want something where you can kind of like build some skills. Like with reselling, you're learning negotiation, stock management, cash flow, all this stuff, advertising, sales. But with property,
Property's sexy because everyone thinks, oh, I can rent properties and make loads of money and be a landlord millionaire. It takes so much cash to do it. And even sort of me as an 18-year-old, I've been reselling for a bit. I kind of done some shares when I was a bit younger. I needed £25,000 liquid to invest into a property. Like that is a massive amount of money.
Yeah.
That's a massive amount of money. And property is so cash intensive that I don't really recommend it as a first thing for anyone to do when you're 18, 19.
Yeah.
Unless you have come into, let's say you've got a large inheritance or so, maybe diversify your portfolio. If you were kind of, me in my position, obviously I did quite well in property. I'm not sure I'd have done it the same way that I did. Because it is risky. You do need a lot of money to not get a lot of return back right away from the understanding that I've done it. I get there's these rent-to-rent models, and Samuel Leeds will tell you
I
that
was just
you
gonna
can
go
make
on.
loads of money. You can make loads of money with zero money in
So
property.
what's
I'm
your
glad
kind of
you know how
opinion?
to do it, because I don't. And I've been
Yeah.
doing this for 6 years. Don't get me wrong, you can obviously make money doing rent-to-rent, but there's a lot of risk associated with it.
Yeah.
It's not something that, even with rent-to-rent, when you look at it, there's so many things in property. When I actually think about it, it's almost funny. To even kind of gain contracts and more and have, I think rent-to-rent's where you essentially like you're leasing it to on smaller contracts to individuals. Even to get to do the furniture and more will cost you 5-6k. So it's not
100%.
£0 investment.
I feel like property as well, like in copywriting, there's kind of like a thing that whenever you write copy, you're meant to hit these things. You're meant to make it seem big, safe, easy, and that anybody can do it. And when you think of property, it kind of ticks all of those boxes, like big, you can sell a house for 200k and it's safe because it's, no one's building any more land, and it's easy because just do my rent to rent strategy and anybody can do it. It kind of ticks all of those psychological boxes and people are like, ooh,
Yeah,
against
yeah.
property.
Absolutely. And if you're older, you've been working for a while and you can leverage cash because property is all in leverage. You are using the bank as much as the bank's money to be able to build your property portfolio, and then you will see your capital appreciation. So I'll talk you through an exact numbers example. I don't mind actually talking about this. I bought that property in 2018 for 99,500. I put a 25k deposit down. So I lent what we call a 25 to 75 LTV. So this is against the bank, a mortgage, commercial mortgage. So that meant I borrowed £75,000. A commercial mortgage, you are never paying down. You are only paying interest on a commercial mortgage. So my mortgage was only £200 a month.
Oh wow.
But it's never going down. It's you're just paying the interest on what you've borrowed.
Yeah.
So you're essentially borrowing £75,200 a month. You're paying for it. You're renting it at £500. So you're making £300 a month on each property. Now that's for, like we say, for a large amount of money, isn't actually a great return. What is a great return is that 3 years later, I remortgaged that property at 135,000. So I'd made a 35k gain. Just in from a sense of being sat on it doing nothing, because property does increase. If you flick to Nigeria, it's a completely different game. Absolutely completely different.
Bro, when I was in Kenya, me and my brother saw this billboard, and Standard Chartered, their like finance bank, whatever, who sponsor Liverpool, were offering 0% mortgages for foreign investors to buy properties in Kenya.
Wow.
And we were just like, what?
Yeah,
This is
that's
insane. Like, and some of the properties there, they were like, honestly, the most insane apartments in high-rise buildings with pool. It was like Deansgate, but for like 350 quid a month.
Yeah, it's insane. It is insane. The market over there is crazy, because if you look at the UK in this kind of way that I picture it, is that you're never going to see an area like Manchester go up 500% a year. It's impossible. That'll never happen. It's too developed. Whilst Nigeria is that much of a developing country, let's say an oil business moved into an area, that area overnight could increase by 400% because it's a developing area. Thing is in Nigeria, so what we're building apartments over there at the moment is you can't leverage, so you can't really borrow from the bank to build Nigeria currently. But it's so much cheaper. For £100,000, what you could build there compared to my property in Worksop is insane. Is insane. And even for me, like, to do with Nigeria isn't anything really to do with money. It's just more of me, my past, my family, and kind of having that connection there. And that's why I'm more bothered about kind of having the property in Nigeria. And that's something that I'll be delving into a lot more in the next few years.
So you went to uni. And I kind of want to bridge the gap between, we've talked about how you were reselling at 16 and where you are now at 23, 24?
24.
24,
sadly.
bro. Yeah. Old. But talk about that middle period. So you went to uni. Were you reselling at uni? Were you working a job?
Yeah, uni, I was reselling as a job at uni. I didn't really have much money. I mean, I had the property, which was bringing me 300 a month profit, which again isn't a lot to live off at uni. But I was reselling mainly PlayStations, a bit of clothing and more. And I weren't doing any more than £500 a month profit at that point too. I was playing a lot of football, enjoying myself at uni, having a great time. And I learned a lot. I was really social. I think there's one thing that I can say that uni taught me, I'm not really using my degree for my business now, is I am probably one of the most, I'd say, comfortable people in any situation. Yeah. Put me in a room with anyone, I'll tend to get on with them.
The street interviews show that.
Yeah, maybe the street interviews show that. So whether that's a 50-year-old man or, well, I'm not going to start talking to kids, but a 16-year-old reseller, I'll get on with them. And that's in the sense of that uni really helped me socially develop. I met a range of people. I was in classes with a range of people. I was like the captain at football, social sec, all them different things. The Chad.
What did you study?
Business and supply chain management, so logistics. Now that's going to lead in. So I did a placement as well. I did a placement my first year over summer because I realised that it'd be really good for me to do some work over summer. Then I got offered a placement, which I did during COVID, for a year, and that kind of funded a lot of the reselling business. Every single penny I was making from that job was going into reselling. Like, I was literally skint. I was in my overdraft buying stuff. I don't care. I'd still do it again. I'd go my overdraft now if it meant that I was getting the right bulk deal. And then I really started to learn the ins and outs of logistics, and that's where that warehouse side came in. So when I came into the warehouse and set up my own contract, I'd done this 20, 30 times for Wilkinson's, for Asda.
Yeah.
This was a piece of piss setting mine up compared to what I'd worked in before. So logistics was a really good background for me to get into. And then after I took a grad job, left after a month
Was that to go and help build Morley?
to build Morley, which is a great...
What was that like? I mean, I kind of like so I followed Morley at this time because they did a giveaway with Ehag Jewelers in Chesterfield. So I
Yeah.
saw all you guys.
Yeah.
And this is like part of
This
why
was
we
years
invite.
ago as
Yeah,
well,
this was
wasn't it? I
years ago. This was like when I was in like year 11, year 12. And like, what was it like to be, 20 with all your mates building a business like that?
Insane. It was absolutely unreal, to be fair. It was something that I always had a vision of. I will do my own thing. I'll have my own business. I'm going to get to a director level at this logistics job when I'm 30. Then I'm going to have this amount of properties and I'm going to have the risk that I can go and leave. Doing that 10 years early was insane. I weren't expecting it. And doing it with my best mates as well was such an incredible experience.
Yeah.
Though everyone realises doing work with your friends can be difficult. Doing
Yeah.
business with your friends can be a really difficult thing to do because when everything's going really well, it's amazing. When it doesn't go well, that's your best mate at the same time.
Yeah.
I feel like it's there's a nice balance to keep between like being friends and almost just like not having to do just because you both have like skills. Like for example, I have skills that could help your business. And you probably have so much knowledge that could help me, but we don't have to do it together.
Exactly.
Like you can just help each other. You know what I mean? You can call me up and you can say, "Oh, how do I set up this flow? I'll just help you."
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It
exactly.
doesn't have to be some
And
like,
that's
we're in
a
it
relationship
together.
that me and Jack have now. For instance, obviously we were doing that business together, but now like at the weekend, me and Jack sat for Friday, had a meal. He gave me so many tips on my biz and how I can build it.
Yeah.
And that's like a nice thing to be able to have. If I'm honest, doing that business with my friends was incredible. It was a great laugh. I enjoyed it so much. But more importantly, is even not as friends, I learned so much. Zach and Jack in particular, I learned so much. And it was mad.
Bro, I've learned so much from them too.
Yeah, it
like
was-
so much from them too.
It was a really good experience. It was like probably one of my best times in terms of working, and it all worked out in a path for me to do my own thing. And I believe that vision was kind of written in the stars. I had to work for them and learn that, and start investing with them and go through a few downfalls, peaks, and troughs to get to the point that I'm at now.
Because you were helping them invest in deals, weren't you?
Yeah. So this is a funny one. I invested £60,000 into a deal, and we got ram raided for 200k.
Bro, the robbery.
yeah,
Bro,
I
if
remember.
anyone watches our podcast consistently, they'll know about the robbery story.
So imagine I've done the biggest deal ever, £60,000, which I'd pulled out of property as well, which is a lot of money. A lot of money.
And you
for
were
sure.
what, like 21?
I was 21, invested 60 grand in a business, and then a
Madness.
week later we get ram raided for that amount of money. And credits where credits due, them boys sorted me out with every penny of it, even after they lost a lot.
Wow.
Which is very class to them. So to go through experiences like that at 21, having had 60k in the air after a robbery, was like part of the reason why I'm so kind of like mellow with certain things.
Yeah.
Oh, we just lost a grand on a buy. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. We'll figure it out. Because being in that situation it's scary.
Yeah, what was
at
that
age.
feeling like? Just like the initial thing of hearing that.
Your heart drops. I remember I've
Yeah.
got a video. I'm like, when it just happens, I'm kind of like talking to myself. But I think it really helped me quickly mature. And my dad and mum was really good with it. As soon as I went back to him and talked to him, I go, first thing is, are you okay? Are the boys okay? It's money. It comes and goes, and that is the most important thing. And for me and for my dad to help me not panic in that situation and kind of go, right, you just need to have a conversation with the boys, give them a bit more time to get themselves back on their feet, and we can go back investing again, was so important. So that really helped me as well, is to not have panic around you.
Yeah.
A lot of people who told someone, they're going, fuck, you've lost your money, you've lost everything. But essentially that I had that much trust in the boys as well, that I knew everything would be all right. So yeah. In my risk factor, in terms of risk, I know obviously I say that I'm not a big risk taker. I guess that was a lot of risk.
Yeah.
But that's kind of put me in the sense of that I define risk very different to what a lot of people do.
Yeah, I was just
Putting £500 of your own money into yourself is not a lot of risk. But yeah, like I used to be 1k in an overdraft at uni to go and buy stock because I knew I'd make money on it. So I
Yeah.
guess I've got a bit of risk in me.
I guess that risk is kind of just having trust in yourself to a degree
Yeah.
as well, though, innit? So
Yeah. I'm really data driven too. So everything that I've ever done, I've always put in a spreadsheet.
Right, Mr. Carter, unfortunately our time is up, as we've just been sadly reminded.
Yeah.
But where can people find you?
Yeah, so our Instagram channel is the main thing, which is Plug Carter. That is where we highlight all of our stock, our business to business service, what we're about. And even if essentially you just want to learn a bit more about it for free, not be a member, we give a lot of information on there. And it'd be lovely to see everyone who's watched this on that page.
Jay's a good kid. We trust him, or else we
We
wouldn't have had him on.
really
So.
It's been an
Thank you,
absolute
dude.
pleasure.
Dude, honestly, thank you for coming on, because I remember speaking to you a year ago and having you say, "I'll come on when I'm ready." I was like quite pleased when you messaged us and you were like, "Do you know what? I feel like I'm ready."
Yeah, no, to be fair, mate, you've helped me with a lot of things as well. You boys, I definitely wanted to get on the podcast. I wanted to have enough to talk about. And I feel like the last 9 months has been huge for the business. So it's nice to be at this step and talk about it. In a year, I see massive plans as well. So I want to come on and talk about what position I'm in a year as well.
If,
So
we'll
if you have gotten to this point in the podcast, please go and look at Jay's Instagram, because when you actually visually see the change from the showroom, when you see the change from that showroom to the 3PL, you will understand why everything you said in this podcast is so important. So it's been a pleasure to have you on, dude.
Thank you very much,
guys.
boys.
Take care.
Ta.
Cool.